Welcome back to another episode of Adeptus Paternus. The kids are finally asleep, and by finally, I mean finally, because Mark over here, his daughter goes to sleep late.
Super late, super late. She's actually not. She's probably asleep now, but she wasn't when I came in here.
I mean, for those in the audience, your daughter is 2, and her bedtime is like 9 p.m., 9:30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't even get home till like 8:30. We were out seeing Santa and visiting
Oh
friends.
man.
So yeah, she's a night owl. Both her parents are night owls. I routinely go to sleep at like 3 in the morning, get up at 7 for work. Don't ask me how, I still do
Oh
it.
God. Yeah. Now, actually, everybody, Mark is 20. He just looks like he's 40.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, anyway, let's get into it. Tonight we're going to be discussing the Grotmus detachment that the Blood Angels got, and Mark is our local Blood Angels player, so brought him on to give us his perspective. The first thing, I mean, obviously, we're going to be comparing this mostly to Liberator, just because that's, I think, the detachment that everybody has been playing from the beginning and continues to play. But there's some good stuff in here, so we'll see. We'll see. The detachment rule is called Legacy of the Angel. At this point, it's like everybody seems to be getting something kind of like orders. This is orders for Space Marine characters. At the beginning of the battle round, so not your command phase, battle round, you select 2 abilities listed below. Until the end of the battle, those legacy abilities are active and apply to all Adeptus Astartes character units, not models, units from your army. So we got Sanguinary Grace. This unit is eligible to shoot and declare a charge in a turn in which it fell back. Carmine Wrath. Reroll ones, hits and wounds. And then their appointed hour, you can reroll advance and charge rolls made for this unit. And phew, those are good buffs.
They're very nice buffs. And the thing about them is they last, basically, you pick them in the first battle round, and then it lasts the whole round. So you don't pick again each command phase.
Yeah. And it is nice. I mean, obviously, these are not the kind of buffs per se that you need to have active even when it's not your turn. Like, there's some, like the Black Templars Grimaldus brick, where Clint is always complaining, like, if he doesn't go first and somehow someone catches a line of sight and he doesn't have the 5 up, feel no pain up, then that sucks for his unit. These don't matter so much, but still, it's pretty great that you can, I mean, adapt more or less. You do have to plan a little bit. If you're going second, I think this is a little bit harder to handle because you might not know where your opponent's going to be, and if you need, for example, to reroll advance and charge rolls, or if you need to fall back. This definitely seems stronger if you're going first because you'll know exactly what the board state is when you pick these.
Yeah, that's very true. At least you'll know how the deployment looks and what you're going to want to do, because it'll be before you draw any of your secondary missions. So
There's that too.
yeah. So it's not as flexible as, say, Gladius with its doctrines, or doing orders, because once you pick them, you pick them. You're stuck with the 2 that you pick.
Yep.
Except if you use one of the enhancements, then one unit can get all 3 for a turn.
Sure. And I mean, to be perfectly honest, I think you're going to be pretty much running reroll ones and reroll advance and charge rolls most of the time, and then occasionally you might swap out the reroll advance and charge rolls for the shoot and charge after falling back.
Yeah. It's definitely, those 2 seem like they're the strongest ones. I think Sanguinary Grace is really good, but it's very list dependent.
Yeah,
Being able to fall back and charge is useful, but it's not as necessary because you're not playing Liberator Assault Group, so you're not needing that big charge bonus because you don't get it in this detachment.
right.
So it's definitely a thing that you want if you're running a lot of shooting units. you're probably going to want to have that shoot and fall back
Yeah,
for
and
your infantry.
I mean, there are times when, especially like with jetpack infantry, where they're able to really move across the board. When if you want to just disengage them from whatever they're fighting and get them onto a point somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
that's particularly nice. But you know, there are other ways to get that. I mean, if you happen to run a lieutenant, you can do it. That I mean, obviously they don't have a jetpack, but still, this
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, honestly, if it was just your character units get reroll ones and that was it, that's already very
Mm-hmm.
good. Everything else is
Yeah.
gravy after that.
Yeah. The rerolls is incredibly strong because anything that removes variance from the game just makes your life way better. It's why an army like Adeptus Sororitas has always been so good. Is just being able to guarantee an outcome, or at the very least, limit the randomness of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, there's a reason why I've been running the Silent King for a year. I mean, since the book
Yeah,
came out, because that he has a 6-inch aura of that, and that's just an aura. And then people are,
yeah,
so mad because I mean, obviously Star Shatter has a bunch of stuff going on, but like, oh, there's a second aura of reroll ones.
mm,
Well, you don't
yeah.
even need to worry about auras. It's all your
It's
character units.
yeah, it's all your character units, so it's basically always on for the units that you really needing it for.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, Blood Angels is one of those armies that takes a lot of characters. There's a lot of good
yeah.
characters, so you're gonna have like this is not a tax in any way.
No, Blood Angels is pretty much like the Hero Hammer army. Um, I mean, orcs probably have as many characters, but I don't think they're like as close as having as many that are so good. Like you've got characters that are auto takes like Dante, or and with this new data slate, uh, jump cap, jump pack captain is
Mm-hmm.
pretty much an auto take now. The Rage Field Warrior captain was an auto take until very recently, and now it's still really good. Like it wasn't really nerfed outside of the much needed point change, but it's still absurdly powerful. Like the amount of things that I've obliterated just charging one guy in
Yeah.
and not even need to activate his bodyguards at all. Just because, hey, I rolled 9 dice and I end up with four sustained sustained threes, so I'm hitting, wounding you like 20 times, re-rolling all that for devs, and it's just like, oh, don't bother taking saves. You're just dead.
Yep.
It's really good. So, and then Mephiston, really good character still. I mean, his points went up, so he's not the auto take that he used to be, but he's still really good. Um, the lieutenant with combi weapon, another
Mm-hmm.
really great choice. Still really cheap. Lone op basically lets you forward deploy if you get one of those missions that requires you to nab an objective early on, like terraform. Like he's perfect in that because you can put him in a building, hit an objective, and just start farming points right away. Sanguinary Priest's pretty good. The Sanguinors actually got a little bit of a buff for this detachment specifically. I
Yeah.
don't know if you want to go into
Yeah.
the
Well,
in the enhancements and the stratagems.
we'll
We
get.
can
Yeah,
save that. Yeah,
we'll save it for when we get there. But there's definitely.
yeah,
I was thinking about him. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
yeah. I'm painting mine up. He's got all the gold on him. I just need to paint the wings and add in all the bloody details.
yep. Well, let's start talking about those enhancements.
Yeah,
The first one, Prescient Flash for 20 points. Models in the Bearers unit have the Scout's 6 ability.
that's really good. Like
Yeah.
I mean, anybody who has played 10th edition and played against anything that has scout, it's just so powerful, and that you can give it to any character means you can get some really weird units that you'd never think, oh, what if these guys had scout? I've played a Vanguard detachment list with a Terminator brick, and I was like, oh, I'll just give a Terminator librarian blade driven deep and give him infiltrate. So
Yeah.
why not do the same thing and
Yeah.
give a
Totally.
Terminator brick scout 6? which is hilarious because their scout moves further than their actual move.
Yep.
And once you get to the center, center objective with 10 assault terminators with a character, like that's a lot of wounds. That's 40 wounds you got to chew through, 2 up, 4 up.
Yeah. I mean,
I,
you can just, there's so much staging that becomes possible. And it 20 points is on the mildly expensive side for this, but I think that it's well worth like taking in many lists.
yeah. I mean, just the staging you can do and the types of units that you can use it on. So Outriders, another kind of spicy choice,
Yeah. Now that
because of
they're
how good they
useful.
are.
Yeah. Out.
Yeah, so you slap that on the cap on the chaplain on bike, and you're doing pretty well because I mean they when they smash into something
Yeah.
with the +1 to wound from the chaplain and then their own buffs on the charge, it's like a mini liberator assault group. It's like Red Thirst, but you get extra damage. I guess it's like the old was White Scars, I think, in ninth edition,
Hmm.
where their chapter tactic was +1 damage on the charge.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly, almost nobody ever played them,
No.
which is a shame because it was really good. But they were just better options, I think,
Yeah.
than White Scars. Painting
Iron
White, who wants
Hands.
to do that? Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. The abusive Iron Hands
Let's
character dreadnought.
let's not go back. Let's not go back. We can turn the
Let's not
page.
relive the horrors of
No.
eighth
Water
and
under
ninth
the
edition.
bridge. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I the thing is for this one, I think also even if you don't go super wacky, it just
mm,
allows you to deploy that much more aggressively, knowing that because normally you won't necessarily be able to hide like every single jump break on the line, right?
right,
There's
right.
only a couple places on the line in most layouts where you can hide them, but with this, you're like, well, I'm going to get my scout move, so I'll just be able to get to a staging point, and
Yep,
you just can be that much more aggressive. And even if you're not like trying to go for that turn one charge, it just amps up the pressure. People have to start thinking about your threat range from turn one, and it's like,
yeah.
oh, what units do I want to send out? Like, because we could start trading like now.
Yeah. You could put Blade Guard with a captain or lieutenant or chaplain, give them this Scout 6, put them in an Impulsor, which I think would also get Scout 6.
Yep. If
And
every
then you
model
could
has
pop
it, then
it.
the
Yeah,
impulsor gets
yeah,
it too.
yeah, because I think it's any dedicated transport. So
Mm-hmm.
you can do some funny things. If you're not going first and you know that they've deployed, some guns where your impulsor is, like you can kind of move the impulsor. There's definitely a lot of flexibility that it gives you at the beginning of the game,
Yeah.
which, in a game where movement is king, like
Yeah.
free movement before anybody gets to do anything is just absolutely valuable.
Yep. Yep. It's basically half of a world eater's rule.
Yeah. Basically, for 20 points, I mean
Yeah.
it's expensive, but I mean I think it's worth it. I
Yeah.
think
I think it's
that's a,
worth
it's
it.
a fair price for it.
I think it's worth it. All right. Next, we have Troubling Visions for 15 points. Once per battle in your command phase, you get all three of the Angelic Legacy abilities instead of just the two.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
You put it on a unit that you think would benefit from whatever buff that you weren't picking,
Yeah. But
and it gives you that flexibility. Once per game. It's not amazing.
it's not really because, I mean, the way you have to think about it is under what circumstances do you both need to, because obviously you're not advancing if you're falling back, right?
Right.
So
Correct.
under what circumstances do you need to fall back and then re-roll a charge? Pretty rare.
Yeah, it's pretty rare. I think you might take it if, say, you had the points and it was a unit that you thought, like, maybe you would take, the shoot and fall back, and or the re-rolls.
Yeah,
Obviously, you're gonna take the re-rolls
you're gonna
every
take the
time.
re-rolls every time.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So you're really choosing: do I want to be able to fall back and charge, or do I want to re-roll advance and charge rolls? And there are times where, yeah, if you're playing like maybe a shooty focus list, which you can with this now, You might want to have that one turn where this unit can, reroll an advance or a charge roll.
Well,
But
fall
I would
forward.
only
Yeah.
take it. Yeah, I would only take it if I had 15 points left over and I couldn't fit
Right.
one of the other enhancements because you can only take three. That's the one that I would probably like almost
Yeah.
never take.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, just because you don't really, there's not a whole lot of cases where you go like, I'm definitely going to need this in a game. Like, I'm sure there'll be plenty of games where you realize, man, it would have been nice in this situation, but
Yeah.
how often is that one unit going to be in that situation? I don't know, but it's for 15 points, it's not one of the expensive ones.
No,
So
I think it's fair. Like,
yeah,
I think, okay, like if you're gonna do that thing what I was saying, like you're falling forward basically, and you're
hmm
trying to get to a completely different spot, and maybe
yeah,
that is like a 6-inch charge, and you're just like, well, I really don't want to fail a 6-inch charge, and I'd rather not have to pay a CP for it.
right,
But I suppose the other potential use for it would be if you are going second and you really don't know which of the buffs you want.
yeah,
I don't know. I do think it is fairly obvious that like turns 1 and 2, you're going to want to reroll your advances and charges, and turns 3 and 4, you probably are going to go with the fallback and shoot and charge.
yeah. I mean, it is what the thing about the legacy of the angel is that you don't get to repick them. It's just you pick the two at, at battle round one, and then you have those the whole game. You don't.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So
right.
yeah,
I
yeah,
misread it. You don't get to. Okay.
that's what I was saying. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's less powerful. Like if you could repick these, like you would do
Yeah.
doctrines or the librarian's detachment,
Yeah.
this detachment would be absolutely bust
I
because
don't.
you would have all that flexibility. But yeah,
Yeah.
you're locked into whatever you're choosing.
Mm-hmm.
So you're giving that one unit a once per game. Hey, I need the
Yeah.
other one
Okay. That.
really badly. Like I need to be able to advance these guys onto this point. And I need a three. And I rolled a one.
I don't have the
I can
CP.
reroll, and I don't have a CP,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
paid the 15 points for this because I had it. I can
Yeah.
try to reroll it and pray to God I don't reroll the one and do a one.
Like your
It's
shirt.
like my shirt, yes. Yeah, the amount of times that happens, and
Yeah. And you'll
it's
see it a lot when you're re-rolling ones as your
yeah, oh
ability.
yeah, for sure. But
Okay, that
I
does
would
make it.
rather reroll the one, but
Yeah, that does make it a little bit. I totally missed the word first. I just saw it at the start of
yeah,
the battle round. At the start of the first battle round.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Then I have to think about it. Revisiting.
yeah.
I think you might actually want to go with. Hmm. I don't know. Depends on your list, as you were saying.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And that's the fun thing I think about this detachment is that Blood Angels are normally an ABC army, always
Mm-hmm.
be charging. It's unga bunga, it's smooth brain, whatever, the internet wants to call it. You want to be moving fast, you want to be charging, you want to be hitting hard, you want to make trades, but you know, with Liberator Assault Group, you're going in and you're gonna smash whatever you fight
Yeah.
most of the time. So this kind of lets you play a different style while still being Blood Angels,
Mm-hmm.
which I think for someone like me who plays the army specifically for the Ungamunga, because I have so many armies. I have other armies that let me be shooting, or my Dark Angels is like a combined arms list. So this detachment gives you that combined arms
Sure.
that lets you play kind of flexible, lets you play units you wouldn't normally take. Like you're probably not going to see a whole lot of Dev Centurions in a Blood Angels list, but with this detachment you might.
You might.
Yeah, it gives you some new stuff to
Yeah.
play with. So that particular enhancement. I mean, I think it's really just if you got the points, it kind of lets you can
Yeah.
put it on a unit
It.
and
It.
just be like, hey, I'm gonna keep this unit alive as long as possible because I don't know if I'm gonna need to use that
Yeah.
once per game ability. Like it's a
Yes.
nice tool to have in the toolbox.
It's okay. I think it is the least of them.
For
But
sure,
let's
for
get on
sure.
to a much better one. Uh,
Yes.
Blazing Icon, 20 points. This one is infantry only,
Hmm.
which is fine. Enemy units cannot use the fire Overwatch stratagem to shoot at the bear's unit, which is great. That's great. As
Uh-huh.
it's already good if you have access to a strat like that,
Hmm.
like the Drukari detachment. The new has something, but if it's just an enhancement, whew,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
is
and not
yeah, that
yeah,
is
not a
scary
once
to
per game
some.
thing.
Nope.
Yeah. So I
Some
played a
armies do
lot of
not
Raven
like
Guard.
this.
No, no, they don't. I played a lot of Raven Guard in 8th edition, and I played a lot against a friend because during COVID you could only play against, your immediate friends that wanted to hang out in your backyard or whatever. So he played a lot of Tau and Guard, but mostly Tau, and I played Raven Guard. So Kayvon Shrike has this just as an innate ability, right? Or he did then. I don't know if he does now, but it took away the teeth of, like, their thing was, for the greater good, so you get to overwatch, with multiple units, which was super busted and annoying. But you throw Shrike in, can't be overwatched, and now he's in, range, and they can't overwatch, the other stuff. They couldn't overwatch the other stuff then. So this kind of brings me back to, that feeling where I was like, I can move around on the board, and my opponent with all his big scary guns can't do anything. And I wish that I had this in my last game. I was playing against Dark Angels, and I had Lamartes, and obviously I wouldn't have been able to use this because Lamartes is a named character,
Sure.
but I could have done it with like a regular chaplain, and some death company. It was like a handful of death company that were left alive. They were on a point. There was some uh, Deathwing Knights on the point that they were in combat with. So I was like, I'm going to fall back. I'm going to pay the CP to fall back and charge so that I could get back, shoot, and then, try to whittle them down and then charge back in, get the charge bonus, fight first again, try to blow them off the point because my secondaries were like overwhelming force and secure hostile objective, right? So it's like, this is an easy one to get. Well, he overwatches me with a Vindicator and
Ooh.
proceeds to roll 4 6s on the demo cannon.
Ooh.
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
I mean, I made a lot of field note pains, but not enough. I didn't have enough bodies left in the unit, and that was a moment where I was like, man, that Overwatch absolutely flipped the game. I ended up losing that game by 10 points. And those
Yep.
10 points basically amounted to me failing those secondaries, and then him scoring with 5 points for standing on that objective the next turn. So I'm like, I don't want to say that's the reason I lost the game, but like, had that not
Yeah.
happened, I probably win the game.
Yeah.
I mean, if you count painted score, I win the game, but whatever, or I tie, but whatever. We don't do that for casual games. That's it's not a real victory. It's a hard matchup anyway. Blood Angels against Dark Angels has always been tough. I played both armies. I have actually never lost to Blood Angels ever in the however many years I've been playing this game, since '95. But and especially not with Dark Angels, like it's just a hard matchup because it's melee army going against a tougher melee army who can weather all your attacks and then just kind of grind you down.
Yep. Yep.
But this was the closest I had gotten, and it was just like that Overwatch was brutal, and it shouldn't have happened. So statistically unlikely, but with this now you can have a Sanguinary Guard unit or a Death Company with a chaplain or a captain or whatever. You give them Blazing Icon, and you can move around the board wherever you want. Your opponent just gets to sit there and not do anything because they can't interrupt your plan. The only one who can stop your plan is you failing your charge. But if you have their appointed hour, you get to re-roll your charge roll,
Yep.
so you probably won't fail it.
I
And Death Company get to re-roll their charges anyway, but everybody else Sanguinary Guard. Like these buffs are so good for Sanguinary Guard.
I actually think that the this particular one does make maybe the most sense for just a regular foot captain with the 5 assault intercessors, because the assault intercessors are so dang squishy, and
They are, yeah.
they're the one thing that's like, really, they're the unit that makes him pushes him over the top in terms of his ability. Being able to reroll those wounds is so key to the finest hour devs.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want is them to just die in Overwatch so that he doesn't get that. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
also it
It's
opens up stuff, because it's like there might be, I mean, who else is going to charge the Land Raider Redeemer? Well, the Blazing Icon guy.
yeah. Basically anything that has all the scary, torrent weapons, you just go, we're going in. We got this.
Yep, it'll be fine. I don't even have to charge
This
from
is a
behind a
battle.
wall.
Yeah, you don't have to. You can really unga bunga with that.
Yeah,
And I've had games, with Blood Angels where I will throw a unit out and I'll ask my opponent every time I move a unit. I go, "Do you want Overwatch? Do you want Overwatch?" Because I'm trying to bait out an Overwatch so
yeah,
that they don't use it on the captain.
yeah,
So having a unit where I can just like, all right, I know I'm gonna survive when I move this guy out, or position him to charge, or when I charge, and I don't have to hide behind a wall and make my charge longer to do it. It's again, it gives you more flexibility, lets you move where you want to move. It's really great. This is definitely an auto take
yeah, yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
Blood Angels. Like you will take this every time. Like you will find a way to drop 20 points if you have to get it on somebody, because there's so many things in the game that can Overwatch and just wipe out a unit of Marines. And our hammers for Blood Angels are pretty expensive. Like
Yeah.
plus the character and whatever. They're all Death Company's overcosted. Sanguinary Guard are appropriately costed, but they are expensive. And while they're tough, there's a plenty of Overwatch stuff that's like AP 3d6 damage that you just don't want to even have to play with.
I mean, I have a great Overwatch threat. The planes all have sustained on their guns.
Mm.
And yeah, I was just playing against World Eaters last night, and he, was expecting to really bring the hammer down with some Exalted, and oh, nope, a whole bunch of them died in Overwatch. So
You hate to
yeah,
see it.
yep, my opponent would have loved something like this. But
Yeah.
yeah, let's go on to the last one. Ordained Sacrifice for 25 points. The first time the bear is destroyed on a 2-up, set them back up on the battlefield at the end of the phase, which is how all of these rules work. Set the bear back up on as close to possible to where it was destroyed, not within engagement range of one or more enemy units, and then importantly, with 3 wounds remaining. Not 1, which some abilities are like that. It's not full health, which would be great, but it's 3. And that is great because pretty much whoever you're going to be putting this on probably has 5 wounds, meaning that you don't have to worry about a battle shock, meaning that you can put somebody on a point, they get shot off, they come back, and you still hold the
Yeah.
point.
Yep. It is another one of those things where you're like, I'm gonna use this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's gonna happen. Like your opponent's gonna kill your hammer, and then your character gets to come back on a 2-up. I mean, that's I've played enough games against Celestine, where she comes back, and unless I'm playing against Marcus, and he doesn't even use her because he always fails it. But most people can roll a 2-up.
Most
Sorry,
people.
Marcus. Most people can. We'll see if I can when I play this list.
But
But yeah, and it's at the end of the phase, which is great because it just means that your opponent doesn't get to do any more interacting with that if it's in the fight phase.
yeah,
And if they're
yeah,
a one phase army like Tau, yeah, they get you in the shooting phase, but what are they going to do in the fight phase? You're going to pop back up and you're going to charge whatever it was that shot you and killed you, and probably either cripple it or take it with you, because most of our characters hit pretty hard. You can give them most captains. You're going to give a power fist to, and power fists are great. So
Yep.
there's not a lot of stuff that you're not gonna kill, and there's some tools that this has. Even though you're not Liberator Assault Group, you're not getting that sweet plus 2 strength plus 1 attack.
Yeah, we'll get
There's still
there.
some good toys that let you punch pretty hard.
Yeah. I this is to me. I mean, I also do play. Recently, been playing more Eldar again, and they have the Phoenix Gem, which is more expensive, but you get back on full wounds.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Full wounds, 3 wounds. It doesn't really matter that much. I actually almost prefer this cheaper one with 3 wounds because that
Mm-hmm.
it gets the job done and for what you need. And
Mm-hmm.
just telling people like, hey, you could trade for this, but if you do, like, I'm probably just bringing it back anyway, and so why bother? And they are like, yeah,
Right.
why bother? And so then you don't even. I mean, depending on the character that you're putting it on, obviously with the Eldar character, you're putting it on a Wayleaper who's a lone op, so they really actually have to put some effort into getting there.
Mm-hmm.
You could probably, you're not. You could put it on a lone op, I suppose. You could put it on the combi lieutenant.
Mm-hmm.
Might not be a bad idea. I don't know. I haven't.
It's not a terrible idea. I mean, they gave him some AP with his combat knives now, so
And he has the feel no
yeah,
pain, so those 3 wounds are worth a little bit more. He has the reactive
yeah,
move, so he's actually just that much harder to kill anyway.
yeah. He can be really annoying.
So
So
this will score you points. It will, and for
yeah.
that, I think this is auto include. I think the last
Mm-hmm.
two are auto include if you take the scouts if you can, and then the troubling visions is I don't know, maybe depends on the list.
It's situated. I mean, Ordained sacrifice is 25 points, so
It's
it might
so
be
worth it.
hard. Yeah, it's really good. Uh, but yeah, it's it's just getting to pop back up, man.
It's so good. Yeah.
I've wanted to have something like this. I've never, had a thing where I can just like, oh, I can just get back up.
Hmm.
It's like usually I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm dead.
Yep.
So getting to pop back up and do it to somebody else, like I've been waiting for that for a while.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the strats. Armor contempt. We all know what it does. It's
Yep.
slightly different now. Then next is focused fury in the fight phase.
Mm-hmm.
This is any Adeptus Astartes unit, not just infantry or anything. Uh, Melee weapons have lethal hits, and if the unit is a character unit, they have lance as well. So that sounds familiar. Lance and lethal.
Yeah. We have that in Liberator Assault Group. What's nice about this is they kind of inverted it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in Liberator, you get to pick between the two, and if you pick both, you get battle shocked. I mean, it's a cool mechanic. I've done it a whole bunch because sometimes you really want both those buffs. With this, I mean, you are almost always going to use it on a character or on a unit that has a character in it,
Sure.
so you're
Yeah.
going to get both, and it's really good.
Yeah.
Lethal hits is great. Lance is great. If you're rolling into your oath target, like you're gonna probably get a lot of lethal hits.
Yep.
Even with the reroll ones to hit, like sometimes you're gonna get some extra sixes out of that. It's great, and then the plus 1 to wound it's always good. Like I can't think of a single instance where I wouldn't want to have it if I
No.
could have it.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
I think only in the most desperate of circumstances will you use it on something other than a character unit.
yeah,
But
yeah,
like,
maybe like a leaderless scout unit or jump pack intercessors or something like that.
yeah, yeah,
But even with this, like you're incentivized to bring characters so that they get the detachment buffs.
yeah,
So you might actually have a character with them, and then you get the plus 1 to wound, and it really like lets you units punch up. It's like a mini version of the Liberator Assault Group Red Thirst like rule, which just lets everything punch up, like your scouts, your jump pack intercessors, your regular your assault intercessors, your tanks, pretty much anything that you want to throw at something. That plus 2 strength is no joke.
yeah.
Um, because you can usually get to pretty good break points, and at the very least, like you can make it to where you're not wounding, a land raider on sixes, and so yeah, +1 to wound means you're wound them on fives instead, or even better if you can get it down to a four.
Yep.
So yeah, this is one for one CP. You're gonna probably be using it every time you charge into something.
Yep.
Unless it's like elves or sisters and you're already winning them like on twos, or you don't
Mm-hmm.
care about winning them on twos, maybe you want to save CP, but that's like everything else that you're going to be charging in this game, you're like, no, I want that.
Yeah.
I want the lethal hits and the lance, please.
This definitely mitigates a little bit what you lose from Liberator. So it's good. It's very good.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um, all right. Next, Instant of Grace. Your command phase. This is infantry only. You select a non-character model in your unit. That model has the character keyword. So basically, if you want to get those detachment buffs, the reroll ones and whatever else you took, you can do this.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You were saying that you wish you could do it on a dreadnought.
Yeah. I wish I could do it on a dreadnought. I understand why you can't.
Yeah.
Um, it wouldn't be as powerful as the old Iron Hands thing because that was pre-game and let you bring relics and
Yeah,
warlord
yeah, yeah.
traits, which was just stupid. And also bodyguard rules. So you couldn't kill a Contemptor Dreadnought because you couldn't target it
Yeah,
if there
right.
were
Because
bodyguard units
it
there.
was just a below the health
Yeah,
cutoff,
just
right?
below the health threshold. Yep.
Yeah,
So it was right there, and those things with the Volkite Culverins like would just annihilate everything. It was just mortal wounds everywhere. The cool thing about this too is it lets you use it on a unit that doesn't have a character, turn them into a character, and then if you have another CP, you just use Focus Fury, so you get both the buffs. So in a pinch, if you've got the CP,
yeah, and you really need it.
you can, and you really want that +1 to win, you can get it. You do have to have some foresight with that, obviously.
Yeah,
But you'd probably use it like the end of the game when you don't have as many resources, so you kind of know based on what you've got on the board, what they've got on the board, if you're going to need it, like this is the time to use it, and then you play
mm-hmm.
accordingly. And
Well,
I think just getting the passive rerolls is great.
yeah, yeah, pretty much.
That's good enough, but like also being able to use it to get the +1 to wounds
Yeah.
is just great because it basically this opens up some of the other stratagems for
Mm-hmm.
this too.
The thing that I find very funny about this though is you could give up assassinate with this.
Yes. I mean, I feel like the trade-off's
It's
worth it
worth it.
because you're bringing so many characters.
Yeah, they're scoring assassinate anyway.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to not give up assassinate. Like if you don't, it's
It's
because you're not really playing the game.
or because they drew it round one and they went
Oh, they
first.
drew around one, yeah, and then you're fine. Yeah, I'm not. So yeah, I'm not too worried about that. I
Yeah,
feel like you're gonna get five. You're gonna give up 5 points off assassinate. Like when they draw it, they're gonna prioritize killing something because one, they have to, and two, almost certainly that's gonna be
yeah,
a character, unless they have bring it down and they really need to kill that Vindicator that you have,
yeah.
or the Ballistus, or a Gladiator, whatever it is you're bringing.
So that's a good segue into the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Strike now for glory. Your shooting phase. What is this? Thought we were talking
Yeah,
Blood Angels.
yeah. Wait, we can
Shooting
shoot.
phase. Yep.
We got pistols, right?
Yeah. No. Well, if you bring in a Vindicator or something else, you got something to use this strat
Mm,
on. So this is
yeah.
any Space Marine, not just infantry. Ranged weapons get sustained hits for 1 CP.
Yeah, for one CP.
That's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. So this is the part where you realize, wait a minute, this isn't a pure melee detachment.
No, it sure
I can
isn't.
buff my shooting. What else could I do with that? Because yeah, I mean, sure, I'm bringing my Vindicators because you got to have some form of shooting to keep your opponent honest. And Vindicators have been the platform of choice, and this is incredible on a Vindicator. because even when you roll a 1 on your shots, I mean, you're still getting a decent number of attacks with that because it's d6 plus 3. It's a blast weapon. You're probably getting that 1 extra for blast. So, and then you're getting a re-roll if you're going with into your oath target, which you're almost always going into your oath target with a vindicator. Um, so yeah, you're probably going to get some extra hits, and I think anything that makes your vindicator deadlier is great. Would probably be really good on a Redemptor Dreadnought
You know
because
what
of
would
a crap
really,
ton of guns.
you know
Mm-hmm.
what has a crap ton of guns? A repulsor
Mm-hmm.
executioner.
Yeah, repulsor execution
And a
has a ton of
repulsor
guns.
executioner with sustained hits.
Mm,
That's just it's
mm.
it's so many shots. It actually
Mm.
becomes worth it if you can give it sustained.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the nice thing about this is it turns a bunch of shooting units that you would never think to take in a Blood Angels list. Stern Guard veterans, the heavy intercessors, even regular intercessors now with the extra
Ha!
shots.
Oh man,
Like
that's actually
all,
yeah.
yeah, all these shooting units that you just go like, I would never take these because it's not Blood Angels. Well, now you got a reason to take them.
Yep. Yep.
So you can kind of lay down some really, really nice cover fire. Your opponent, like, and you should definitely tell your opponent at every opportunity that you can do this
Yep.
so that they are thinking about it when they
They're
position their
respecting the fire
guns.
lanes. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, they can't just like sit back and just blast at you as you try to run at them. It's like, no, you're gonna get shot. Your dudes, if they pop out to come on to objective, they're gonna die. It's nice. It's a nice thing to have
Well,
when you're thought of as, oh, this is just a melee army, and then suddenly gun, lots of gun.
it actually, I mean, it really just brings to mind World Eaters because now a lot of people have started running, one or two Forge Fiends, and
Mm-hmm.
if you are if they're getting the sustained hits from I think it's from Angron, right? Like his aura.
Mm-hmm.
So then
Yeah,
this is basically that, and it works for World Eaters. I think it works for Blood Angels. Pick your tank of choice. Uh,
yeah,
I mean, I Vindicators I think are good in a lot of matchups. I always love when I see that my opponent has Vindicators because they're only 24-inch range and I can just
yeah.
pop them from a distance, which is I think one other argument in favor of like a repulsor executioner because it is something that can dominate a fire lane, like the entire
Right.
fire lane. And knowing that those two shots, if it's going into the oath target, could become three, could become four.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
that?
It suddenly becomes very scary that
Uh,
you have to think about if I step into this, like I could lose a lot of points to
did
just
did I ever
just
tell
hot
you?
sixes.
Did I ever tell you that the crazy time when I was it was at an RTT and I was facing the gargantuan squigoth, the really really really
No.
big one,
The Forge World
the
one?
Forge World one that's like 2 feet long. Um, so I had a repulsor executioner and I made it my oath target. And this was back when I was playing the old Death Watch. And so yeah, I
Mm.
was in the sustained tactic, and I shot at it and I
Mm-hmm.
just rolled boxcars on the big gun.
Oh.
So it's like now it's four, and then I use wounding on threes, and so I think I only dropped one out of the four. And I don't,
Oof.
if it has an invul, it's like a 6-up. So basically,
Yeah.
he didn't make any save, and like each one of those is d6 plus 4 damage.
Yeah.
And I just rolled kind of average on the damage, and it got one shot. That was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
So all that to
Just
say,
one lucky thing like can flip a game. It's like the Overwatch that I took from that Vindicator last game. Like
and
it popping something like that by just rolling hot and getting those extra attacks, like can flip an objective, can throw an absolute wrench in your opponent's plans because they're like, well, I didn't think that you could do that because
yeah,
normally you can't.
and this is the strat that like really makes something threatening. It really does
Mm-hmm.
because again, when you're planning your movement, you have to assume that your opponent is just going to roll sixes. They're going to roll
Mm-hmm.
sixes on their advance. They're going to
Mm-hmm.
roll, like they're going to make the 10-inch charge. And
Yep.
like if they have sustained, then they're going to get 4 giant shots into you.
Yeah, yeah, and it's also use you can use it on your death company with their
Sure, yeah.
with the Inferno pistols.
Ab-
Like that ain't
absolutely.
nothing to laugh at.
No.
Yeah, because Dante, like I've done that with Dante, where I'll kill a target just by rolling some sixes because it's sustained D3. So suddenly my one shot turns into 4 shots.
Yep.
uh, and it's D6 damage. So I'm just like,
Yep.
cool. If you don't have an invuln, like whatever that is, like that's AP4, so you are probably dying.
Yeah. I mean,
I know I know I took a huge chunk out of the lion last time I played him with that. So being able to do it with like the rest of the regular guns in the squad, like all the random Inferno pistols, because you can take 2 Inferno pistols in a Death Company squad. You can take plasma pistols, and then you have your heavy bolt pistols. It could be a lot of shooting with the
sure.
sustained one,
Yeah, I mean,
and then you pop whatever you were in combat with, and now you didn't. If you didn't pick the fallback and whatever, you like okay, cool. I'm free. I'm out of combat now.
that's
Now I can
true.
go charge the unit that's sitting on the objective next to me that thought it was safe, but now it's not because I took 2 Inferno pistols and turned it into 4 shots and took out the tank I was in combat with.
Yep. Yeah. So obviously this is very good. I think it's a nice balance to everything else. It
Mm-hmm.
really is.
Yeah, yeah. You got a melee buff with Focus Fury. You got a shooting buff with Strike Now for Glory.
Yep.
It gives you what this army basically didn't really have with the
Yeah.
other 3 detachments
Yep.
is which is hey, bring some shooting. Like we got a toy for your shooting
And
now.
not just token shooting, like genuine
Real
shooting,
shooting.
real shooting.
Yeah,
Yep.
genuine shooting. Like not just oh hey I brought Vindicators because I need
Because
to
what
have
else am I gonna
some
do?
anti tank.
Yeah.
Now it's yeah let's do it. Let's bring the Repulsor Executioner. Let's bring the Gladiators. Let's bring whatever that has a bunch of guns.
Yeah.
Redemptor Dreadnoughts have a crap ton of guns. I mean Dreadnoughts are in a weird spot right now. I think
Sure.
just they're just so hard to use properly.
I you know
So most people just avoid using them because
honestly, it's not even a bad idea with like a ballistus because it gets the reroll hits without oath.
yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
So
So yeah, you can fish for the sixes
you can
on
yeah,
that
or
last
just
cannon.
just kind of hope you get lucky. But
Yeah, yeah,
you
that's
got the
very
2
true.
las cannon shots and the 2. I mean, if what you're shooting at is strength 10, and those the crack actually can do some stuff. But
Yeah,
yeah, or like you said, you take some centurions and maybe you turn
yeah,
those 6 las cannon shots into many more.
yeah.
I don't
Like that.
actually recommend that, but
I've seen some people talking about it, and I'm just like, I have Centurions. I
yeah,
haven't used them since Eighth Edition
it,
when they ruined Raven Guard because
yeah,
rightfully so.
yeah. If you
Being able to just deep strike those wherever I want, like,
well,
that was not a good idea.
that's John Lennon's Ultramarines Vanguard list. That's
Yeah, yeah. It basically is.
it
It
still
gives you a little bit of
exists.
that. It
Yep.
still exists. Yeah, some of the old combos like they never really die.
No, no,
And even though I wish they would, the character dreadnoughts are gone. Finally, I think the last of them is gone.
nope,
The
nope,
thing.
not
Oh
anymore.
no,
Because the
oh
Custodes detachment can make 2 Dreadnoughts
that's
characters.
right. That's
It
right.
never
Yeah,
dies.
it never dies. Never dies. Blood Angels. Like I see this and I see all these buffs and I see all the strats and everything, and I'm just like, remember when we had the Librarian Dreadnought?
Not
We
that
bring
long
that
ago.
back. I know it literally just went into Legends back in October. So
Yeah.
yeah, we mourn its loss looking at this detachment because we're just like
Oh yeah.
these would have been so good.
Yep.
Like it was a character. It could it could
Yep.
benefit from this, and it would just you know it would wreck shop.
Yep. Well, The next one is another one that melee armies love. In the Shadow of Great Wings, CP. It's basically the 18-inch lone op strat. You If somebody shoots at you and they're outside of 18, you can pay the CP, and they can't target you anymore. They have to shoot at something else.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
It is. It's pretty solid.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, 18 inches isn't the old 12 inches, but it's still like you're not getting wrecked from downtown.
yeah, I could think of a number of games recently where like that would have been useful to have. I like reading these or getting these new things and then go like, man, I could have used that last week. I could have used that like 2 weeks ago. I played a game against a double Exorcist sisters list, so
Oh yeah.
I didn't have
Oh yeah.
the characters available to do recover assets. So I had my infiltrators on my home objective, which what I always did, and then I think it was one jump pack intercessor who would survive being shot at. I moved him behind a wall, and I'm like, he'll recover assets. And I, of course, forgot that out of line of sight shooting for sisters is actually quite busted, despite all the nerfs.
Yep.
Um, and while my infiltrators survived, um, my one jump pack intercessor did not. If I had this with, a
Oh yeah.
character,
Yeah.
attached to you, and obviously it wouldn't have saved like one guy. But if that one guy was a character and it wasn't like one of my lone op characters like Mephiston, who was busy fighting a tank,
Well, you can
I
it
could have popped this and then be like, oh no, you still get to shoot me. He gets to do the action. You can't stop him unless you get within 18 inches, which the exorcists are just going to sit in their deployment zone the whole game
the thing
because you almost never
is
see them move them up.
you so yes, it is locked to a character unit, but
Mm-hmm.
you can use Instant of Grace.
That's true. Yep, yep, yep.
And
That's
so,
right.
look, that's a case where
Which I would have done. I would have done in
that's
that
worth it,
turn because he was by himself.
for
Yeah,
the victory points. Absolutely, that's where. And
yeah,
so,
yeah,
yeah, that combo can be particularly powerful. I mean, obviously, you're hoping that just you're going to use it on a character unit anyway, but in a case like that,
yeah,
100% do it because
yeah. Just the one guy. Like, I mean, I knew he was only one guy,
yep.
and drawing that, it was like, yeah, that would have been the play. Would it have won me the game? I don't know. I mean, it's what,
It's 3 victory
three
points.
extra points? Yeah, which is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, but it's like
Yeah, any points you get is going to be good. Like, it's always useful for
it's
tournament.
well, I guess the way you have to think about it if you were planning this out is it's a 3 CP swing because you could have discarded that for a CP instead.
Correct.
So I guess if you're weighing 3 CP versus 3 victory points, maybe it's not worth it, but maybe it is. Maybe you have
Yeah,
4 CP at this point and you just,
yeah,
and it's a close game and you know that you're going to need your secondary. But the worst
yeah.
thing, I mean, certainly that's if you had the foresight. If you find yourself in the circumstance and you're like, "Oh shoot, I forgot."
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's already your opponent's turn, so it's too late. You can't discard it by this point. The
Mm-hmm.
last thing you want is to fail it because then you still
Right.
have it and it's just
Yep.
that much harder for you to do it.
Yeah, yeah. No, you never want to be in that situation where you've got a dead secondary,
That is my
basically, because you can't get to draw it.
that's my
So
favorite
yeah,
thing to do to an opponent. Like I swear
yeah.
because it's a bigger swing than it appears.
Oh yeah, no, it's incredibly huge because you're denying them a chance at a CP, and then you're denying them chance at scoring the secondary to begin with, but then the opportunity to score another one, the following turn because
Yep.
it's like, okay, now you got to discard it or try to do it again.
And it's just
Um,
harder.
and it there's definitely a mental toll too. Like when you're just you're stuck, you've just been saddled with this
Yeah. Nobody
bag of crap,
nobody likes
and
those.
just
Nobody likes sabotage.
no.
Nobody likes recover assets. It's so
Oh, I hate
dumb that
them.
those are fewer points than containment, which happens immediately.
Yeah, yeah. I don't really know why those are worth
So,
so little.
somebody dropped the
They're almost
ball.
always, yeah, they're almost always a discard for me. But I will keep them if I feel like I have to,
I've
or if I have my lone op characters.
Yeah, lone ops can do
Um,
it. I've also
yeah,
at times if I haven't, I mean, I've done funny stuff like I've had the Silent King sabotage because he's not dying.
no, and if he dies,
Well, then I have
you're less
bigger
concerned about
problems.
failing sabotage. You're like, okay, well now the
Game's
Silent King
over.
is dead. What do I do?
Yep.
What turn is it? Oh, turn two. Yeah,
Oh
okay,
yeah.
yep. No,
Yep.
this is over.
Yep.
Let's re-rack.
All right.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see like this stratagem like coming in
Clutch.
clutch.
It's so
Even if you
clutch.
just want to keep a unit alive, like to force your opponent to like now they have to change what it was that they wanted to do. Some people get really like if they might be a good player that might come in with a good game plan, and they might have come up with this is what I'm going to do this turn, and then you throw that monkey wrench in there. And some people can't adjust on the fly.
Yep.
Like it may take them a little bit of time to be like, okay, now I need to do this because I thought I was going to do that.
Yep.
And, oh man, this whole thing. And a lot of people will just, get flustered. Maybe they'll spiral. I mean, really good players, that's not going to happen. But most of the players you would meet in a GT, like they're not going to all be, you know, Forrest. They're not going to be you. They're not going to be Jesse Sell or any of the big name players who who aren't going to be rattled by anything really because they've gotten so many reps. They know what everything does.
Yeah.
They're not going to have they're not going to get flustered.
Every
But
every one of these, there's always a point where it comes up where I say, and what's really good about this is how the mind games that it plays with your opponent. But also, I mean, just on like a really basic level, turn one, let's say you have to like, I don't know, area denial, and you're playing against Tau. They're not going to charge you. So
no, they're
if
just going to shoot you.
they're just going to shoot you, and the 18 inches does mean that they do have to get a little closer. So
Mm-hmm.
like maybe the thing like doesn't actually die because they don't actually want to commit to it, or maybe it's just
Right.
the only like it's you got extend and like it's turn one and like the only thing that like the only objective that you can reasonably take, you can't take it and hide. You're going to be out in the open.
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna lose the unit. This is super useful. I mean, every
Yeah.
detachment that has this in the game uses it all the time. It's a very good one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
I can see it's one of those. If you got the CP for it, like it's a great defensive strat.
yep,
And for Blood Angels who don't have any defensive strats normally, other than Armor of Contempt, like you get two in this detachment. You get
yep,
this, and you get the Armor of Contempt. So again, this is a very different detachment than what we're used to with Blood Angels.
yep. All right, and then the last one is Unto the Burning Skies. This is basically an uppy downy. You can pick one jump pack unit. You cannot target a unit that is within engagement range of one or more enemy units unless it's a Sanguinor. So you can pick up the Sanguinor out of melee and put
Mm-hmm.
him back in deep strike, where he can then rinse and repeat.
Yep. 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 He can't use his heroic thing multiple times per game, but you can still pick him up out of combat, which is great. Because let's face it, the Sanguinor, as great as he sounds, is not a melee monster.
No.
So there's decent odds that if you had him come out of golden light to intervene, he may not have killed the thing that he was in combat with. But this lets him get away even if you didn't. Like you don't have to worry about having to fall back. Um,
Yeah, you
you get a free uppy downy basically with him.
yeah,
For the CP, which is great.
it's
Like anytime you can reposition
it's so good.
is
I
really
mean,
big.
I think
Yeah.
you just do it. If he is in engagement range, if you don't have if it's like early on in the game, like before round 3 and you still might have some dudes left in deep strike, maybe you don't feel the need to do this. But
Yeah.
if it's round 3, everybody's down, uh and the Sanguinor's in melee, I think you do it every time simply because he then becomes an action deep striking piece.
Yep.
Like, oh, I need to establish locus in my opponent's backfield. Well, I don't even have to worry about moving there. I can pick, the Sanguinary, I picked him up, and he can do it.
Yep.
I
And
mean,
he's lone up,
and he's
so
blown up.
guess what? You're not shooting him,
Yeah.
so it's really good. And then you can use it on any of your jump pack units, which is, if you're running Blood Angels units, it's, most of them. Dante and the Sanguinary Guard, any of your Death Company, like they're all jump pack
And
intercessors, yeah,
there's
all that
one
stuff.
really good choice,
Mm-hmm.
Inceptors.
Inceptors, yeah,
Take
another really
6
good choice.
plasma Inceptors, maybe you give them sustained ones, they just blow something up, and then you're like, they're positioned in such a way that they can't get shot back at. You pick
Yep,
them up, do it again.
yep. It's just anything that lets you reposition. It's a movement game, so
It's very good.
free movement is free real estate. Like for one CP to just like uppy downy, and if you're bringing like scouts or the Calidus assassin, like you were already doing this. Like
Yeah.
at the end of your opponent's turn, like every time you're going like, yeah, I'm probably picking the assassin up. I'm probably picking the scouts up because unless they're holding an objective or completing an action, I don't really know what the rule is on the timing between like finishing an action at the end of the opponent's turn and then
You can't pick up something that is doing an action.
yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't think so. That's how we've always played it.
Yeah.
So because I was like, it probably like doesn't let you like.
Yeah, because the end of the fight phase happens before the end of the turn.
No, I meant
Oh.
like the standard, like the Calidus assassin or the scouts, because that's at the end of the opponent's turn. It can be picked up
Oh.
off the table,
So,
but
yeah,
an action completes at the end of an opponent's turn. I assume since they're simultaneous,
that the
the
opponent can
player's
choose.
turn is
Yeah.
they will choose, and they would obviously choose what's not beneficial for you. So I was like, I've always played it as I'm not going to pick them up if they're doing sabotage
But
or if they're doing recover assets because
I th-
I don't think you can do that and still score it, but
yeah.
maybe you can. Maybe somebody can comment
No, so
who
they
has the
actually
answer to that.
I just looked it up. The Calidus, maybe earlier on, it what did say end of the turn, but these abilities have all been standardized to end of the fight phase. The
Okay,
Calidus now
okay.
also says end of the fight phase.
And the fight phase. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Okay,
So
then
just so that
I've
there's
been playing that wrong because I have not read it in a while
that's all right.
because I don't have the
Imperial
Imperial
agents. Yeah.
Codex. So yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't actually seen the app. I have my own data cards that I made, and that one was clearly wrong. So I'm gonna go back and fix that.
All right.
Uh, still good, obviously,
Yeah,
but
and I think that you run a Calidus in every Imperial list, regardless,
mhm.
simply for Vect, because
Yeah,
Vect
yeah,
is, and also the meta boogeyman is Star Shatter, which is relying on really good strats,
hmm
and has difficulty screening, and so the ability to drop a Calidus like behind a wall, so that they won't be
hmm
able to get to her particularly unless they go backwards, which could be really disadvantageous. Then all of a
hmm
sudden, like, oh, your -1 to wound strat, your reactive move strat, you don't get to do that, or you only get to pick one. You don't get to do both.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
good,
No, they're so good. They're so good. And only 100 points.
and only 100 points. Yeah,
I don't understand why the Vindicare Assassin is 150 and the Calidus is 100. It should be the other way around.
I think the
Because
Vindicare came down.
oh, did it come down?
I
I
think
mean,
it
he needed
did.
to come down.
Yeah, but still, nobody's gonna take it.
Well, taking him, but the Calidus needed to go up. Like she should be like 125, 135. Like because Mephiston at 125 was auto take. Like at 100, she's like you would be a fool to not take her. The
Yeah,
only reason you wouldn't take her is if you don't own her.
yeah,
And for a while, I didn't own one. I just used a Harlequin model, like
yeah,
because she's that good. I was like, yeah, I'll kid bash one
yeah.
if I have to, because before the Codex came out, they were going for a lot of money on the secondhand market.
Yeah, now in retrospect, we know it's because they were reboxing everything for Imperial agents. But
Yeah.
I have an old one,
Mhm.
one of the resin ones, and
Oh yeah, yeah,
I have to put her on like a tactical rock now so that she like is the same height as
yeah,
the new sculpt. It's not a
yeah.
big deal.
No, it's fine. And it's such a good unit. Like
It really is.
she's she does everything. Like,
Yeah.
she's got the uppy downy, the infiltrate,
Yeah.
scout, fights first.
Loan
She's got a
up
flamer, loan up. Like, yeah, like there's so many things where you can
and
just like
Vect.
and Vex, yeah, and like that will win. That'll win you
It will win
games.
you
Like
games.
she has won me so many games just with all the tools that she has.
Yep. Well, we are going far afield. Let's go back to Blood Angels. I
Yes.
mean, we've been through it all. What do you think? What do you think of what
So
is
I
this
think
detachment called? It is called Angelic Inheritors.
Inheritors, yeah. I think it's a solid detachment.
Yep.
How strong it is in the meta remains to be seen because it allows you access to so many new units. It's going to take some time for people to figure out like what's going to be like the most efficient unit to take use of all these things because there's
Yeah.
so many things. So you can run Stern Guard, Inceptors, Repulsor Executioners, Dev Centurions if you want to, Assault Centurions if you want to, all sorts of different things because now you've got combined arms list for Blood Angels. So all the Blood Angels players who didn't want to have, an Ultramarines army or an Iron Hands army or Dark Angels army or whatever, they just want to be Blood Angels. Like they can crack open that Space Marine Codex and be like, all these other units that I never looked at
Yeah.
because my detachment rules don't have any effect on them. Like now they can. So it'll be a little bit of time, I think, for people to figure some stuff out. Like, do you want to take assault terminators or do you want like regular terminators? Because sustained one on 10 dudes with storm bolters is not insignificant. You can do some stuff with that. So I guess the real question is, would I, as a Blood Angels player, run this over Liberator Assault Group? I think Liberator Assault Group is a really strong detachment. I think the name is stupid, but I call it Liberator Financial Group
Yeah.
just because this is how silly it is. But it is a really strong detachment in that it's just has powerful abilities, powerful detachment rule, powerful stratagems, powerful enhancements, and all of them are really flavorful. Like they do what you would think that a Blood Angels army should do, which is be fast, hit hard, do the thing that you want to do, which is just go, unga bunga, always be charging, blood for the blood god, whatever you want to call it. I play Blood Angels because of that, so I'll probably I would prefer the melee focused detachment. I think that it's stronger. I think it's better. This is just my personal opinion to have a thing that you do and do it exceptionally well
Mm-hmm.
rather than have multiple things that you can do but not do as well. Now I say that in a world where Gladius is
King.
still like one of the strongest
To-
Space Marine detachments for the other Space Marines army I play, Dark Angels. Um,
it's Gladius is
so
king.
yeah, so it's like, but that's because Gladius just is so strong when you combine it with the specialist units that Dark Angels has, slow Deathwing Knights or whatever. Like being able to give them advance and charge is insane. Being able to give things shoot and charge or advance and shoot is really powerful. Like it has tools for everything. Liberator Assault Group has a lot of those same tools. They have access to advance and charge. They have access to advance and shoot, which I have used, on shooting platforms. Because why not? Like if you want to get line of sight with your Vindicator, it's only 24 inches, but if you advance it into somebody's face, 24 inches doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't seem like it's such a bad range. Um, so I'll probably keep playing Liberator just because it fits with the playstyle that I want.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is still like pretty strong. Obviously, it doesn't do melee as well. It doesn't do shooting as well as other detachments, but I think it has enough tricks to really like let you do a bunch of things. Like it kind of borrows from some of the other uh, Blood Angels detachments. So like the Angelic host lets you uppy downy multiple units.
Yeah.
Like for a CP, you can uppy downy your jump back units. Like one of them. You have ways to get the cool buffs on most of your units for this. You've got your shooting. You've got your loan up. You got your you know way to punch up with your melee units with Focus Fury. So I think that it can do all the things that you want it to do pretty well. This is definitely going to be harder to play in competitive, and I don't know how many people are going to want to be like, hey, I want to I'm up for the challenge, to see can this perform as well as like say Gladius. And I see people who are trying to game it with like, oh, if I don't take any Blood Angel specific units, I can get the +1 to wound to my oath target, which I think is just ridiculous for people to do. It's like you're working way too hard for +1 to wound, which +1 to wound is great, but like you're not playing Blood Angels anymore if you're not
Well,
bringing
why
like
would you do that if you're not taking Gilliman for double oath?
you're right. Exactly. I'm like, you're better off just going like, well, why don't I just bring Gilliman and
And then
then
just
really
play all.
benefit from it?
Yeah.
You're just playing all, yeah, basically, that's like red ultramarines. And some people have knocked this detachment saying, oh, it's just red ultramarines. I'm like, well, it's not because you, like the list that I'm, trying to put together for this, like, I'm still bringing 2 bricks of Sanguinary Guard. I'm still bringing Dante. I'm bringing a jump pack captain. I'm looking at bringing 6 blade guard and either a captain or a chaplain in an impulsor with scout 6. Like the melee is there, like it's still gonna have that Blood Angels flavor to it. But yeah, I'm also gonna bring some things that can shoot that I wouldn't otherwise you know think about bringing into a list. Stern Guard veterans and attaching them to your captain instead of assault intercessors, because against the oath target you're getting those rerolls to wound.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely some play with this. As for how strong it'll be, against something like a meta in which Star Shatter exists, I don't know. This is very much a different army. Like I know it's a Blood Angels detachment, but like you might as well be playing a completely different army in that the entire philosophy is different. Like you're not playing this to like go out and charge and bludgeon your enemy as quickly as possible. You're really wanting to stage. You're wanting to try to trade smartly. So it's gonna be difficult. I don't know if it has the tools to really hang with the big boys. I mean, you know, it literally came out, less than 24 hours ago.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I haven't gotten a game in yet with it. I don't know when I'll get a game in next with this, with the holidays coming up. I don't think people are going to be like, going to Outer Plains to play on Tuesday on Christmas Eve. They might. I imagine some people might. I could think of a few people who definitely will. I won't be one of them. Because
I'm not going to be in town, so I'm not either.
yeah, yeah.
But
I mean, those of us with kids, like, we'll probably be at home because, there's stuff to do.
yeah.
It's Christmas. It's Christmas. New Year's, 100%. I don't care about New Year's. Like, I'll get down to play New Year's Eve. that's that's fine. So, but I would love to get a game or two in with this just to see like what it can do. Of course, the problem that I'll run into is that I don't own a lot of the cool units that I would like to throw into this and test. I don't have a repulsor executioner, because until recently, why would I, as a
Right.
Blood Angels player, have
Yeah.
this? Even a Dark Angels player, it's like they're expensive. I'm gonna run my Terminators because I like that flavor of the army, rather than just like, oh, I'll just bring these units because it's the best. I like to what I liked about Liberator Assault Group was the best units to take were the units that you wanted to take because it's all your flavorful units. The Dark Angels, even though you're playing Gladius, like you're bringing Azrael, you're bringing Deathwing Knights, you're bringing Inner Circle, so it's like you're bringing all the Dark Angel stuff anyway, except for the bikes. And you might see more people running bikes now too, so that'll be fun.
Yeah.
And I hope to see. I know somebody who's putting together his Blood Angels now, and he'll probably do a game with this. So I'll ask him, what worked for him, just to spitball and see, what works, what I can try to bring. I'm probably not going to try to break the bank. I'm not going to go out and
Yeah.
buy a Repulsor Executioner, uh, assuming I could even find one
Well, that's
this
what
time of
TTS
year.
is for.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Now I definitely need to get into playing TTS. Like, go
Yeah.
back to not sleeping. Because that's the after the kids go down, that's pretty much the only time
Yep.
that that I'd be doing that because I'm a dad. I work and I go to school because I'm insane.
Yeah.
That's I don't recommend it, but at the same time, you do what you got to do. I still get some time in for Warhammer, so um, definitely gotten to play a lot of Blood Angels. I really enjoyed this army. I enjoy Liberator Assault Group. Like, it is a fantastic detachment. I think that just based on what I know now, my feeling is that Liberator Assault Group will still be better competitive wise. It's definitely more fun for me, but this might end up being like sneaky good. Like,
Yeah. I think it's sneaky good. It's funny. I actually have a slightly different perspective in that I think that at the very highest levels, pure melee armies are actually quite difficult to play well because
I can agree with that.
you have to position perfectly in order to make it
Yes.
work.
Mm-hmm.
When you have reasonable shooting and the ability to reposition things fairly easily, that allows you to be a little bit more sloppy. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that while yeah, that for some people this is in many ways an easier army to play because you can kind of make up for your mistakes. I do think that the losing the 2 strength 1 attack is ginormous because
Yeah.
2 plus 2 strength is effectively in many cases at least +1 to wound. Sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
+2 to wound. And
Yes.
then if you get lance on top of that, you're effectively
Mm-hmm.
like +3 to wound. It can be bonkers, the amount of damage that you
Yeah.
can do. So I don't think that this does nearly as much damage. I do think
No.
that it gives you some like reasonable tools to do, to kind of just play a general game of Warhammer. Now I know I was talking up the sustained 1 strat.
Mm-hmm.
Uh the thing is, this does not give you the shooting ability of Gladius formerly.
No.
This
Right.
is not fire discipline in Devastator Doctrine,
No.
which was totally crazy because the difference between critting on 5s and critting on 6s and then getting like lethals and sustained, this is nowhere near that. It's a good buff, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not a cracked buff. So
Yeah.
it's not as good as Gladius. That's for
No.
sure. And I think that you can definitely win with this. I think you can do very well with this. I think that you probably hit the nail on the head when you said that the real target for this detachment is people who are like solo Blood Angels players. That is the only
Mm-hmm.
Space Marines that they play as Blood Angels. But they would like to have the opportunity to try a couple other units. Then cool, like you can totally do that with this. I think it's fun. I think it's good. I think it's not broken.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely not broken.
Yeah. No, it's definitely not broken. It's pretty reasonable. It's got some strengths. It's got some weaknesses.
I think
It
that
doesn't let you like punch tanks to death like
no,
Liberator Assault Group does. Like yeah, the +2 strength, you know, and +1 attack, like that turns scouts into scary melee
yeah, no,
threats.
no, no,
Like
seriously.
I played against Bill with his admech, and he charged his melee unit into my scouts. He didn't kill him, and then I was like, cool, I'm gonna spend my CP. I'm gonna fall back and charge. Pop back in, +2 strength, +1 attack, and just eviscerated his unit. It's just like they're scouts.
Yep.
Like they're supposed to be, my scoring unit, my cheap chaff that does, that exists to die, to score points and then get blown off the board. And it's just like, nope, everything's a threat in this army.
There are people who've looked at already. I mean, this just came out today, and people are looking at this detachment like, "Oh, this is ridiculous. This is so strong," and they forget the fact that it's buffing otherwise like completely mediocre units
Mm-hmm.
largely. And so the reason why Liberator Assault Group works is balanced despite the insane buffs it gets is because it's buffing the melee of garbage and making it not
Yeah.
garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And the points are relatively appropriate. And so similarly, like this is going to be. There are a couple things that I think you could exploit. I mean, being able to drop six Inceptors with plasma, you know, getting rerolls. I mean, theoretically, like even if it's not the oath target, you could put a captain with them, and then they're at least getting to
Mm-hmm.
reroll ones to hit. And
Mm-hmm.
and if you're giving them sustained on the plasma, and then they also
Yeah.
have twin linked, I mean that's
Yeah. That can
killing
be
a
really
lot of
brutal.
stuff. That's killing a lot of
That's really
stuff.
brutal.
So
Yeah.
I think that there's definitely stuff here. I don't know that it's necessarily like the best way, like to run Blood Angels, or much less the best way to run Space Marines. That seems pretty clear to me right now to just be run Gilliman with double oath and double
Oh
plus fleet.
yeah, yeah. I don't
So
think this is better than Gladius. Like
no,
I think it does some of the same things that Gladius does, but I don't think it does it as well.
yeah. So
Which is fine. It's a
that's fine.
it's a holiday special detachment.
The
Like
yeah,
it shouldn't
exactly.
be. It shouldn't become like the meta detachment. Like none of these should. But I
Uh,
mean, some of
I
them
agree.
will obviously. Um,
Yes. I mean, we'll see what happens. There's a discussion of things getting nerfed, some rebalancing of the Grotmus detachments, and I sure hope it happens because I actually was not happy with the Necrons. As a Necrons player, I'm like, I wish they'd kind of been a little lighter touch with Hypercrypt and then
mhm.
not introduce Star Shatter because like now there's hardly no any incentive for me to. But anyway, I digress. I think
Yeah.
yeah, we agree. This is a good detachment. It's maybe even a great detachment. It's not broken.
Yep.
If you want to play it, by all means, go ahead, have fun.
Yep. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for giving me your time. This has been very insightful, and I hope that someday we'll be able to get a game in.
Right. Well, thank you very much for having me.
And if you're still with us, please, like, comment, subscribe, give us your feedback on how we're doing. It's all very appreciated. And thanks. And have a good night.
Thanks.